Night, which means it is Amigos Racing Team Touring Car Championship time. Once again, SuperSquid here on commentary, and I'm very happy to be joined again by Chris R390, the host with the most. Good evening, Chris. How are you doing?
Good evening, Squid. How are you doing? I'm good, thanks.
I'm very well, thank you very much. How did you find it last week at Lago Maggiore?
Very close, very enjoyable, and yeah, we have a first race winner in Mr. Bertie. He won race 2, and he deserved it, to be honest. He managed to get in front. It was nose to tail for all of us, really, for a good 4 or 5 laps of the 12, and he just somehow managed to break the slip. Pull away a little bit, and I think he won by about 2 or 3 seconds in the second race, so a big congratulations to him, because it was certainly his first race in this series. I'm not quite sure if it was the first overall, but he's improved massively over the past few weeks, and long way to continue.
Excellent. Well, it's nice to see someone get their maiden win at Amigos, and if you're looking for your maiden win in sim racing, you had enough with the dodgems that is the daily races, please hit the link in our Discord, the link to our Discord in the description below. There's a wide range of leagues and events on for people of any age range, any ability, any country. We've got something here for you at Amigos. Have you got a... Sorry, I'm just playing with some chocolate buttons there. Have you got a rundown of some penalties from last week in Tier 2?
There wasn't any. This is what I mean. It was really close. We were bumper to bumper, and nobody touched. Not even door banging, not even a little bit of paint rubbing or anything. There was absolutely no contact at all in all 3 races.
Fantastic. It's great to see that our Tier 2 drivers are keeping it clean. I think maybe 2 incidents to report in Tier 1 if I'm checking my notes right here. I think Speed Hunter and Beardy had a coming together in race 2. I think one of them got taken out, the other one didn't like it, and a bit of revenge later on, so they've been spoken to and dealt with. I think there was a second one in race 3, but again, all due to people causing collisions and not returning those places. So just a reminder to those who are watching at home, we do encourage the drivers to drive cleanly. If there are incidents, we hope that they can be rectified on track rather than with the stewards. So we find ourselves tonight at Dragon Trail Seaside, the regular Grip 4 machinery. As we see a J-Hound and Urban Fire getting into it on track there. What do you think we're looking for tonight then, Chris?
I think we're looking for... There's a lot of drivers in here actually, which are going to be very, very close. And I think this circuit's going to mix it up a little bit because of the long straights. I think the likes of the G70, for example, from the Genesis G70, it's going to be up there because it's not a handling circuit. It's nice and open, and they should be they should be quite quick. They should be quite competitive. So certainly Matthew Francis and Ollie Dalton should certainly be in the mix, who are driving those machines tonight. So let's see what happens. We should be looking at a lap time of around just under 1 minute 50, I think.
Yeah, I do agree that this triangular layout similar to Spa-Francorchamps, it lends itself a little bit more to the straight lines, as you say, not many twisty complexes. So the Genesis will be ones to watch. Also had a couple of scout laps in the Sylvia, which is also really quite practical around here. So that should be one to watch, I think, in the hands of Mr. Tiddlywinks in the Sylvia, so he'll be one that I'm keeping a focus on.
Bertie's also in the Sylvia, so
okay.
He could also be everything. And Mike as well, he's joined us as well for his first thing. He's in the Sylvia as well. He's not in a team livery. I don't think he's in a team, but he's probably running like an independent sort of thing, really, because he's joined us so late. But he's in the bright green and black Sylvia.
Yeah, we've got him on screen now. They have an optical illusion heading through one of the hairpins there.
Yeah, just so people are aware, if you do like this series and do like what you see, please feel free to join the Discord, come and join us. I'm already in the process of planning season 3. It takes a lot of planning, takes a lot of hard work, and if you fancy joining in, come and join in, come and have a bit of fun. The guys are great, the community's really supportive, and we all help each other out. We all train each other, and there's lots of knowledge to pick up from everyone in the community.
Well, absolutely second that, completely, 100%. And in fact, if we get that many more people, and don't need that many more people, we may well even have to have 3 splits for it, which I think would be a first for Amigos, at least as far as I know. So the more the merrier, quite literally.
That would be incredible. This little race series, I've got this in my head, this little plan for it to be growing the way it's growing. And so I think we had a maximum of 12 drivers in season 1. We've gone to 30 in season 2, so more than 50% increase more than doubled, shall we say? Sorry, just from one season to another. So knowing that the drivers are turning up and they are enjoying it's good to know. Being the curator.
So as we say, if you want to get involved, hit the link in our description, join the Discord, and while you're there, please feel free to drop a like and a subscription on the channel and keep up to date with what we got here at Amigos Racing Team. I guess then, Chris, I'll leave you to get the lobby ready for round 6 of the TCR. Best of luck to your race.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Squid. I'll speak to you later.
Take care. See you later. So as we said, here at Dragon Trail Seaside, we've got 3 races. We've always had 3 races every evening. And the main factors we're looking for, as we mentioned, 2 tiers. There are 15 drivers each, roughly. Some obviously can't make it every week. Apologies for that. They're paired up across our 2 tiers, so their team totals combined at the end for a winning pair. Each driver will get an outlap and either 1 or 2 qualifying laps, depending on how quick they are around the track. And then when they get into the race, we're looking at a racing medium tyres only. Fuel and tyre wear set to 4 times. So we can expect to see either some very, very low levels of tyres and fuel. At least 1 pit stop, I'm sure we'll find out. Also, we're going to see our drivers here qualifying on 50% fuel, just to give them the best possible chance of setting a hot lap. So let's have a look how we got as they leave the pits for their first few laps. We can see Urban Fire here in the Toyota 86. Dalton, as mentioned earlier, in the in the Genesis G70. Mike in the Nissan Silvia. I'll cover privateer drive for this evening, as it were. Matthew Francis also in the G70. Nick John Baker in the Toyota 86. Deva in the Lexus. We saw driven very hard last week by Clay Dutchy, managing to fend off that pesky Toyota 86. Chris R390 also in the Genesis, yeah, a Hyundai Genesis, I believe. Yes, it is. Mr. Tillyweek is pulling himself out of the crowd in his Nissan Silvia. J-Lad in the VW Scirocco, and a Big Crazy Bertie, fresh off of his first win, also in the Nissan Silvia. We're going to ride on board with the McLaren-inspired livery of O.M. Dalton here as he heads through, I think, a section of Gran Turismo that puts fear into even the bravest of souls. I'm talking, of course, about the chicane of death, taking it much slower, keeping the tyres warm and saving the fuel, taking a go like mad for the next 2 laps. We could probably expect drivers to be taking this at more or less 90 to 100 miles an hour when going at full tilt, so I'm sure we will see 1 or 2 minor incidents, maybe a couple of major ones. So this is Mike there deciding to put Nikita Mazepin and skip the queue, but that might well give Dalton some slipstream as they head up the hill into starting his flying lap. So let's see there as they head onto the pit straight for his first qualifying lap. We're expecting the drivers to be hitting about 140, 145 miles an hour into the heavy braking zone of turn 1, down to 2nd or 3rd gear, clipping these apexes of the chicane nice and tightly, washing out onto the exit curb there, and then putting the foot down flat out, ideally, unless there's no traffic of course, all the way through this minor right-hand kick, not going to the grass. He has clipped the grass, unfortunately, he has to send him sideways. That's put paid to his quality laps. Will jump onto Urban Fire, fleeing the scene of the crime there. Nice and wide onto the exit curve there, under this little Larini gantry, marking the end of the first sector. Now this complex here is where you can make or break your lap. Urban Fire down to 3rd gear, maybe a little bit too slow through there possibly, but crucially keeping that left hand corner nice and tight so we can open up the entry to the right hander and then back up the hill through the left, running nice and wide there onto the exit curb. A minor left hand kick down the hill, looking at another 145 mile an hour braking zone, braking just after the curb ends. He can afford to brake a bit later in the Toyota, and then almost flat out, now he's on full power, washing out wide there onto the exit of this long sweeping right, marking the second of the 3 corners of this triangular circuit, and to the first chicane, and then the chicane down at 120, slowing down to 90. He's made it safely, so safe is better than sorry. a little bit braver for the second time. I think we'll have to be there. I think the fifth gear and our third and final point of the triangle here, up to about 135, 140. Hard on the brakes. Needs to be a little bit tighter into that final curve, but then flat out on the exit, up the hill and over the line. Not going to be our fastest lap so far, but a 1:48.4 by Mike is a good benchmark. You can see a 1:50.5, I think, or 0.4 by Urban Fire. It's good so far, but there is some time to gain there. Matthew Francis beats him by about half a second. So it's like ART Mike is the one to beat. In fact, it's just going to be the one and done, I think, of the qualifier. Before, maybe not happy with Mike taking that pole spot. Let's see if anyone else is still yet to cross the line. Dev, unfortunately, has had an oopsie at the chicane of death, I think, on the way in. That will have put paid to his lap. You know, Dev likes to start near the rear anyway in the race, keep the race to himself. But I don't think that's the way he quite wanted to do it. So it looks like our pulse is going to be Mr. Tiddywink, who's taken Mike's top spot by a good half a second. So he's doing some victory donuts there. So Tiddywink will be on pole with Mike, both in the Nissan Silvias. Chris R390 in third, and Nick John Baker, we didn't see earlier actually, in P4. This will be an interesting start here because Chris in the Genesis, I believe, is going to have rear wheel drive, as will the Toyota of the 86, but a bit lighter the Toyota and doesn't have to worry about traction control. So that'll be an interesting one to watch off the line. J-Lad in P5 in the Scirocco, I think the only front wheel drive car on the grid this evening. But will be quite quick down the straights, of course. Matthew Francis in P6 in the G70. Big Crazy Bertie in the Silvia next to Urban Fire on the grid. The Silvia can struggle a little bit with turbo lag off the line, so it might not be quite as responsive compared to the Toyota or the Lexus. We've got Dalton in P9 and again in the G70. P10 is Jonathan in the Lexus. E11 is Deva also in the Lexus. So not some great qualifying for our two V8 runners. We'll have to see how they get on in the race. So hopefully we'll see some guys help the quali in a moment. I'm not away from that because that's quite loud. Let's find someone who's still, I think. Obviously J-Lad have a go at the reverse circuit. Maybe some people didn't quite have enough for dinner, so they're having some donuts for dessert. There we go, qualifying's done. Let's get underway with the race. So our grid order is up there on the right hand side of your screen. If you're watching the comments, thank you for watching. It's 4 of us, I think, that are tuned in so far. Who's your money on for the race? I think it's gonna be, or it could be ART Mike. Could be I'll say a stop and go, or I'll say a one-trick pony. What is the phrase I'm thinking of? A one-hit wonder. His first race might come straight in with the win, but I am, as you know, a big fan of Mr. Tiddywink. So hopefully we'll see him fend off some of the opponents for this round. We're going to jump on board though and see what our start is going to be like. A fantastic view here facing down the grid as our 5 red lights are about to go out. And we are away. A slightly delayed start, I think, by Mr. Tiddywink, but you can see there, turn the traction control off quickly, so he's got a chance to pull away to get back out so we can see the wider angle. Kerry Holden in the chat, cheering on Matthew Francis, so there's one of his 2 fans. I know he's always got his back. Tiddywink leads into the first corner. Chris Ardante is looking in his mirror, but no moves there. Looks fairly clean from the back. If we jump to the back there, Jonathan, it looks like everyone has made it through the chicane at turn 1. Not often you see that. Fantastic stuff. Tiddywink then will lead the field into the end of the first sector. Chris in second. Looks like Mike's going for a move up the inside. Nice contact from Matthew Francis. Been pushed wide. That's going to upset Mike just a little bit possibly. But he's still on track, so I don't think you have to give that one up too soon. Francis leads Mike into P4, then we've got Dalton P5, J-Lab P6, Bertie in P7, we've got Urban Fire, Hotney's Hills in P8. Bertie's very slow up the hill. Is Urban Fire going to make a move heading down into the second hairpin? Let's have a look. He's just had to lift off there, possibly washing out from the dirty air. So I'm not sure there's going to be a move on the cars, but if we jump out, we might see something further down. You see Mike trying to defend possibly from Dalton. He's gone very deep though, very deep. Just into the wall, Dalton just avoids it. Up into P4, Mike into P5, make that P6 as J-Lad makes his way past. Big Crazy Bertie's a look at the inside, but thinks better of it. That's going to give Urban Fire a look up the inside of him, but Urban Fire is going to tuck back in as well. Sensible driving from these guys, because we all know you don't win the weight. Win the race. You don't win the race on lap 1. A lot of action, I get all my words jumbled here. Nick John Baker seems to have had a bit of an off somewhere, finds himself at the back of the pack, promoting Dever up into P10. And we know it's nice to see Dever not at the back of the pack. Let's see him fight for some more positions. Vicinity has already broken the slipstream to Chris R390 by a second and then some, make that a second and a half. Chris R390 though has got quite a gap to those behind him. Our battle is happening here, I think, with Matthew Francis. If we look back, he's got Dalton behind him, J-Lad right under him as well. Bit of contact, Dalton is sideways, J-Lad's in the grass. And that is going to be very touch and go in terms of who's at fault there. I think if I were J-Lad, I might have to slow down and see where Dalton is, but it didn't look like Dalton turned across him. Dalton did have plenty of road to choose from though, so that can be an investigation later tonight. J-Lad is in P4 then, unfortunately for the best there. Mike down in P5, Bertie P6. Is Urban Fire going for a cheeky move the inside? No, he's not, but he's going to have to get it done soon, or Jonathan is going to be right up behind him. Nick John Baker into P9, and unfortunately Dever's gone again, and he's letting Dalton go. Don't let Dalton go, race him, fight him off, Dever. So it looks like most of our drivers are setting to rhythm, finding some space. Really jump on board though with Big Crazy Bertie. He's looking very racy here up against ART Mike. Is there a move down to the hairpin, a late lunge, or a quicker fake move there to make him go wide one more time? No, I think Mike there once bit, twice shy. He's not going to make that mistake for a while. And crucially keeps that slipstream to J-Lad up in P4. Now though, following so closely, can we get a good line of sight into the chicane of death, or are we going to miss our turning point? No, looks like we're just okay. A little bit sideways, Mike getting very sideways there. Bertie clips the wall, but crucially threw it in one piece. Jonathan though, not so much of a good time. He's got front end damage. You can see there, he's falling off the pace just a little bit. He's now 6 seconds away from P6. So not quite going the way he wanted. Bertie though is right back up in this fight between J-Lad and Mike. And this is a three-way scrap for P4. This can get very fruity as we head down into the hairpin at the start of lap 3. Our front three has not changed yet, but Mike may well have to be fending off a double move. Bertie's past J-Lad for P5. J-Lad's not going to let that go without a fight, but there's no dive bomb into the chicane. However, Bertie's been quite conservative on the exit now. Jay's going to have a look back past him. We ride on board there in the Scirocco. Mike's starting to pull away now. I think that exit off the chicane has harmed Bertie just a little bit. J-Lad quite easy going there through that right hand kick. He could be maybe a little bit more aggressive on the power. You can see they're pushing really hard there out of the corner Scirocco. It's nice and tight in the slipstream there. Dirty end might be a problem as they head up the hill, one of the harder complexes of the circuit. So much depends on how much momentum you can keep through this left, right, left, up the hill and over the crest. J-Lad's managing it very well, but maybe not quite as well as Bertie, who's pulling away just a couple of hundredths here or there. And he will not be close enough to make a move down into the hairpin. Someone who might be close enough though is... oh, I thought they were too close. Maybe not there. So no one's quite just close enough for a move yet. Let's see where the fight is going on. Definitely not the front there. Tiddy's taking another 3/10 at Chris R390, but he's 6 seconds up almost on Matthew Francis. Mike is following him like a hawk with a great run through the death chicane there. Mike's doing very well so far tonight. Can he make a move on Matthew Francis before they get to the final corner? They're going to be side by side in the braking zone. Is Mike going to lunge? He is moving to the right, but Matthew Francis has seen it. He's going to close the door on him at the apex. No, he's going to run wide instead. Mike takes that by the scruff of the neck, but Matthew Francis, with great forward drive traction out of that last corner, will keep P3 for the time being. That Sylvia is very slippery down the straight side, and he may well use the slipstream to sidle on by. Although it's just not quite got the same grunt of the Genesis. Mike looking for another move, or just to get in his mirrors. It's not been an overtaking place so far for him. And he's able to sit behind Matthew Francis for just a touch longer. Hopefully not too much longer though, because you can see J-Lad lurking in the back of your shot there. He'll be looking to pounce on one of these guys should there be a mistake or an incident. or maybe a bit of a coming together that caused him to lose some time. So our top three still the same: Tiddlywink, Chris R390 having a race by themselves so far. Mike is right up underneath Matthew Francis there, less than 2.5 tenths at that point. Lost a little bit of time on the entry, but compromise entry could be a better run up the hill. That's exactly what's happening so far. And there may well be an opening heading into the second hairpin. Matthew Francis, is he going to defend? He's going to take the middle of the track. Mike is going to look up the inside. This could be a very bold move. They're both low on the brakes, maybe a slight tap on the rear. Matthew Francis is wide, Mike is up the inside. Puts the power down, leaves the space, and that is P3 for ART Mike. That has allowed JLad to get just a little bit closer to this battling pair. Deshikano could really ruin this opportunity. Mike again sideways, but catches it supremely. Mike in P3, Matthew Francis P4, and JLad in P5. All three drivers only about a second apart. Big Crazy Bertie in P6, and he's got Jonathan chasing him down from, I think it was P10. Now I think at P7, so some good gains there made by Jonathan, but he has got some more ground to make up. He did have front damage earlier. Nick John Baker down in P8 in the Toyota 86. We saw Hockers really wring the neck of this little car last week. Let's hope Nick John Baker can extract the same performance. Same for Urban Fire here down in P9. Circuit doesn't particularly suit the 86s. It's down on power compared to its rivals, so he's have to really throw it through those twisty sections uphill and the death chicane to make the most of what it's got. Dalton, recovering from his earlier incident, finds himself in P10, and Dever, as we regularly find him at the rear of the pack. But again, more of a journey of self-improvement than competition for Dever, which we can't fault here at Amigos. Tiddlywink seems to have lost about half a second there on Chris R390. If you have a quick look at the tyre situation, they're about the same. Tiddlywink a little bit down on fuel, so a slightly lighter car. Should still make it to the end of the race on one tank of fuel. But Chris R390 is starting to put his foot down. Tiddlywink still has the current lap record, a 1:48.1. Chris's fastest time by comparison is a 1:48.2, so he is on a similar pace. Let's see how Chris handles chicane of death here. Just a lift of the throttle, maybe a slight nudge of the brake, but managing that very, very well. A slight bump on the exit though will cost him a couple hundredths heading out of the tunnel towards the final hairpin. And of course these hundredths could add up in the long run. A couple of times he does that in the race could well equate to a good half a second of gap that he cannot afford to lose if he's hunting down the championship win. Precisely in P2, JLad has overtaken Matthew Francis, possibly in the death chicane or just after, for P3. That's a great move there from JLad, making his way up towards the top step of the podium as well. Matthew Francis in P4. Looks like his lap's 1:50 so far. He's finally jumped into the 1:49s. He's still got another second or so to gain on his rivals. Tiddlywink there, you see, is now set the bar to 1:47.8, so that'd be a fantastic qualifying time. Big Crazy Bertie in P5, with Jonathan making another move on Nick John Baker, gets him up into P6. So Jonathan really is on his way back up towards the front of the pack. We jump back to Matthew Francis though, we run on board with him. He's trying to get on with Jayla. That's a very, very late move there from Matthew. I think he'll quite rightly ease off and let Jayla have that one back. That was I don't want to say kamikaze, but very, very late. We know Lewis Hamilton calls himself the last of the late breakers. He's not starting to learn to Matthew Francis, but JLad, I think, is starting to learn about the track limits. He's gone very wide there, off onto the grass and then into the gravel. There goes Big Crazy Bertie and Jonathan. That's JLad down into P7. Where's ART Michael is? He's coming back up the hill with a 20-mile-an-hour speed advantage, and that's going to be P6 for Daddy Mike. So Mike up into P6, JLad into P7. Nick John Baker in P8, and just behind this pair, crucially, can nick some spaces there on the current lineup. Let's see, because any mistakes in the chicane of death, he will be there to bounce. The nudge of the brakes there, very close to the wall, but too close to that one. Sideways once again, that is unfortunate. We're going to make sure we line that one up. You can be very off-putting that chicane of death, especially if the car takes off on one of those inside curves. It's really hard to keep it in a straight line sometimes. Still battling here, Mike and J-Lad for P6 and 7. J-Lad has got the better run out of the corner, may well be able to break the slipstream by the time they get into the braking zone. So there definitely will not be a move coming up, at least for the next corner. Jump forward, there could be a move here from Bertie on Jonathan, who's up to P4, and again, starting from P10 on the grid, Jonathan is throwing that Lexus as hard as he can through these corners. A fantastic effort from the Mauritian driver under the French flag. Matthew Francis, though, still up in P3. I think I might have missed a call there from, I think it was his friend Sophie, wishing him good luck as well. It was indeed. So he's doing very well so far, Sophie. He's a little way off the lead, but he's still on the final step of the podium, so a good result for him so far. Tiddlywink and Chris, looks like they're still on their own Sunday drive here. Tiddlywink having set another purple lap on the previous one, a 47.7, so he really is going for it, and another 10th and a half taken out of this lap. Can we see maybe a 47.5 by the end of the race? That would be fantastic. Doing a fantastic job through the chicane of death there. Again, like ART Mike, throwing it sideways, but keeping it on the black stuff more importantly. Matthew Francis himself about to head through the chicane of death. Let's see how he takes this. We see a little bit more conservative. Oh, but a thump on the wall, that's not going to help him. Here comes Jonathan and Big Crazy Bertie. They've nailed the chicane there. And we may well see another three-way fight for P3. Running well there with Big Crazy Bertie. Matthew Francis defending from Jonathan. I don't think Jonathan will go for a move from that far, but maybe carrying a bit too much momentum. He's missed the apex by a little way. This is going to allow Big Crazy Bertie to catch back up to these two just a little bit. But Jonathan, with a good exit there, is putting away from Bertie and right back up towards Matthew Francis. There could well be a move on here into turn one. Let's have a look from outside. Jonathan fakes left, goes right. Matthew Francis is not buying it. Hard on the brakes. Jonathan look at the inside anyway, but Matthew Francis has that covered, and Bertie is now right in the thick of it. In fact, you can even like a move on Jonathan, but I think coming out of that chicane in gear 4, he's just not got the torque or the power to catch back up to that Lexus, and it roars back away behind Matthew Francis. So no dice here. Jonathan's not had the idle line though. Bertie catching right back up onto the rear of that Lexus. You know, that Lexus with the big 5-litre V8 is a very torquey engine. Likes to pull from very low down in the rev range. Sylvia meanwhile needs to be driven to the very top to get all the power out of that 2-litre turbo. Crucially though, with it being very light, you can see he's much more comfortable through this uphill chicane. This though is where the Lexus will start to pull away just a little bit, or at least hold its ground somewhat. Bertie moves to the inside. Will Jonathan lead in the move? Bertie brakes a bit before Jonathan. A slight bit of contact there from the rear. Jonathan will keep P4. Bertie very courteously remaining in P5. So our lineup so far, Tiddlywink still in P1. He's got a 5.5 second lead over Chris. This is a huge lead. As he heads over the line, not another purple lap surely. It is a 6.99. So he may well see that 47.5 gap broken by the end of the race if Tiddlywink keeps throwing in these monster laps. Chris after 90 there, 5.3 seconds down on Mr. Tiddlywink. Matthew Francis there in third, start to pull away out the slipstream there of Jonathan, who has also done the same to Big Crazy Bertie. So they're kind of on their own little island so far, 1 second each apart. 5 seconds down the road is ART Mike, but hunting him down is Nick John Baker in the little Toyota that could. Hunting down that Nissan Silvia, braking just before the 100-metre board there. Maybe could have been a little bit later, but not as late as ART Mike. Gone very deep into that corner. Nick has to move out of the way of the apex to avoid a collision. This is where Nick needs to make his move. He can be full throttle through his corners in the Toyota, nothing to fear. But he's lifted off, he's got to be more aggressive. Put your foot down, full throttle through there, and full throttle from here. Once you've made the apex, get that Toyota moving. Momentum is so crucial in these Group 4 cars. So it's very easy to lose speed, not as easy to pick it back up, especially in something as low down on power as the Toyota. But as long as he can keep with ART Mike and keep within the slipstream, this could then drag him into the fight in front, as we saw with Bertie, who is looking up another move on Jonathan, a late lunge maybe. No, not yet. Matthew Francis is still just ahead there. He's gone a little bit wide. Jonathan's going to be looking for a move, heading into the final hairpin, I'm sure. We're going to ride on board then, just watching these three heading through the chicane of death. Will there be any fatalities, or are we going to make it through in one piece? Looks like Matthew Francis maybe clipped the wall on the exit. Jonathan, though, has done a good job, as has Big Crazy Bertie. And I think Jonathan is now lining up that move. Let's see. Matthew goes right, Jonathan goes left. I think we'll have a compromised line on the inside. We're going to turn that camera, see where he is. He's not quite made the apex late as he should do. Jonathan's got the inside for a cheeky cutback, but it's not happening yet. But now we're going to have a drag race down to the line, starting lap 10, the penultimate lap of our first race here tonight of 3. You can see, look at the speed of that Lexus. It is pulling very hard against that Genesis. He's on the inside line. He may well take the lead before the corner, but Matthew Francis on the inside is not going to let that go easily. Braking just as late. They leave each other space, but Jonathan with the outside line on the next one takes the lead, but Matthew Francis slides underneath the inside and takes P3 back. What a great move by Matthew Francis, and that's going to bring Bertie into the fray once more. 3 cars half a second apart into our first of 3 hairpins. Matthew Francis using that four-wheel drive traction to try and escape just a little bit quicker. Bertie now look at the inside of Jonathan, who might have gained a place and now could be looking to lose one instead, but crucially he's going to have an easier run of it, I think, up the hill. I think he hit tyre squealing there from Matthew Francis. They're all running a little bit wide now. Bertie trying to sneak up the inside of Jonathan. It's not happening. Matthew Francis is a bit slow up the hill. These guys are going to meet really tight heading into the second hairpin. Jonathan pulls alongside Matthew Francis once again. They are going to be side by side into the hairpin. Matthew Francis goes deep. Jonathan can't turn, and Big Bertie, Big Crazy Bertie, buys one and gets one free. I said he buys one and he gets one free. Jonathan in P4, Mike P5, Nick John Baker in 6, Matthew Francis in the wall, and comes back out in P7. Very unfortunate there. Possibly tried too hard at looking behind him, didn't see what was in front, just couldn't make the corner. J-Lad in P8 there, 6 seconds away from Herbivore down in P9. He's a bit of a nightmare then, using the midfield a few moments ago. Owen Dalton still at the back, unfortunately, in P10. He's got Dever for company there in P11. Come on, Dever, make a move. You can catch him. As he had Dever handles the chicane of death. Very aggressive, fantastic driving from Dever. Full send to the end, as my friend Lays would say. It's the final lap though, and Tinnywink with a 10.9 second gap over Chris R390. This is almost a non-contest. Glad I put my money on him. Chris R390 in P2, a 15 second gap there to Big Crazy Bertie, who made a big crazy overtake there on those two to take P3, but he's not got rid of Jonathan just yet. Despite that unfortunate incident at the hairpin, Jonathan is only 1.5 seconds away, and the slightest mistake will cost Bertie his next podium. We can also see in the background there, Mike and Nick John Baker are just coming into view. They'll be just covering the thoughts of these drivers as they head up the hill for the final time this race. Jonathan is not quite joining on Bertie for the time being, but I think Mike is starting to close him down instead. Look back a little bit, Nick John Baker's only a second away, so these 3 drivers here, 4, 5, 6, only about 2 seconds apart. Any mistake at the chicane of death will cost them a place, guaranteed. So I think we will very quickly see as Tinnywink is about to cross the line. He will take race 1 here tonight of 3 at Lago Maggiore. We know Chris is going to come in second, but what about this chicane of death? Big Crazy Bertie nails it. Jonathan nails it. Mike nails it. Nick John Baker nails it. They know there's too much risk there, so nothing's going to change, I think, for the final corner. Chris R390 comes home in P2. Big Crazy Bertie, a very smartly run race from him. He'll take P3. Jonathan will come home in P4. ART Mike in 5th, and Nick John Baker with a good comeback up into P6. Matthew Francis, not the ideal race for him, and very low on fuel. He's been really revving that Genesis, down in P7. J-Lad with a good start, but a very unfortunate coming together there, I think, with Matthew Francis earlier, resulting in a P8 fit, but I know we'll see some better from him tonight. Urban Fire down in P9, he needs to get that fire going if he wants to make some points up for tonight's events. Owen Dalton, unfortunate as well, taking out near the start of the race. He's got P10, but Dever has kept him company in P11. That is our standings for race 1. And your winner, finally for me, Mr. Tiddlywink. We'll join you in a moment for race 2 of 3. So our first race winner there, Mr. Tiddlywink. So our next race, as far as I recall, is going to be based on the previous race results. So with Tiddlywink starting from pole, we could see an even bigger margin to P2. This last one was, I believe, 10 seconds, 15 seconds or so. So a very big gap there. Let's see if people can keep it a bit more competition for this time around. If we just check our comments and see who's commenting. We got another message from Sophie. Good luck, Matthew. You got this. He was unfortunate in the last race, but I'm sure he keeps it on track, keeps focused. There could well be a podium for him. We have seen some pace out of him earlier in the season. Let's hope he can stay in control and win back some crucial points for he and his teammate, who I believe is Play Dutchy, who saw with a fairly dominant performance last week as well. So to the 7 of you watching at home, we do hope you're enjoying the stream. If you are enjoying the stream, please drop a like or a comment on the stream if you've got a favourite driver or someone that you've got a bet on to win for the next race. And if you share the channel with your friends and family, get them involved, get them cheering on the drivers, get their support, we'd be really, really grateful. And as always, if you're a Gran Turismo fan or an Assetto Corsa or an F1 fan, and you want to get involved with some league and community racing, please hit the link in the description below for our Discord. So I believe we are just setting up the grid for our second race. Hopefully I haven't got to tick in, because I don't want to be jumping in front of these guys. Oh, what's going on there? Oh, that's just a different message, that's fine. So, who do we think is going to win this race? I think this, as much as I want to say this could be an easy race for Mr. Tiddlywink once again, I would very much like to see Owen Dalton mixing it up near the front of the grid. I'd love to see Jonathan as well, maybe on the podium at some point. From P10 on the grid to I think it was P4 at the end. A really well fought race for him, and barring that incident with, I think it was Matthew Francis near the end, he could well have been on the podium. So let's see Jonathan make some gains as well. And of course, Dever. I want to see Dever finish above P11. Top 10 for Dever. Top 10 for Dever. So, race 2 starting any moment now. Of course, I'll have to jump back out again once the race starts. We can see Dalton there on pole. Oh, because I think Dever preferred to be sat at the back anyway, rather move out of the way. So we have Dalton on pole and Urban Fire joining him on the front row of the grid. Jayla and Matthew Francis on the second row, Nick John Baker and Mike in the midfield, Jonathan from P7. This will be one to watch. Should be away now. Let's get the thing back up there. There we go. So, fairly clean getaway by all drivers. Of course, Dever leaving himself some space, and Dalton is already almost a second away from the rest of the grid. An electric start there from Owen Dalton. Question is, how are they going to get through turn 1? It's right on board behind. Looks like Mike is in the grass, unfortunately, in the gravel, being pushed wide. Over 5 seconds, Jayla third, Chris Hoffey 19th in fourth, and he's got menacing Matthew Francis right behind him. Chris Charman in the chat saying, come on Dever. Well, I think Dever has already made a place. Matthew Francis then looking for him with the inside of Urban Fire. Urban Fire hits the wall into Matthew Francis. Chris Hoffey 19 takes fourth. Nick John Baker swoops in and takes 3 places, but maybe Big Crazy Bertie's going to take the rest of them off as well. There's me a little bit of contact up ahead. It looks like this is going all kinds of crazy. Tiddlywink's on the outside of Matthew Francis, I believe. He's had to duck back behind, but we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars all fighting for the same space of tarmac. Big Crazy Bertie has now found himself at the front of it. Jonathan, though, from P7 up to P4 already, an electric start from him as well, and he may well be looking at Bertie. In fact, I think we're going to slow down. Looks like we're going to have a safety car. Yes, I haven't seen one of these for quite a long time in the Amigos racing team, but it looks like we do have the safety car. Major incident in the midfield, out the back of the pack, I believe, at the start. And unfortunately, Dalton's hard work there with a great start that he had will have to be repeated once again. If you have a quick look at the rest of the pack though, Nick John Baker up into 4th, a great start from him. Jonathan will have to give that back to the Nick, so that is in P5. we've got Chris R390 in 6th, Matthew Francis 7th, Tilly Wink 8th, Mike in 9th, Urban Fire 10th, and Dever has just managed. Oh, I thought he had the place, but I guess he had to give it back. Now, let's say he didn't pass Urban Fire before that first corner, so I'm sure we'll see our safety car restart in a moment. As we said there, Chris Charman cheering on Dever. If Dever gets a top 10 finish, I will be a very happy man. That's my 2023 made already. So no pressure. Now, of course, one thing to consider, while the tyre wear is on, the tyre temperatures are also effective. So we're going to see which drivers have got slightly colder tyres and might have a compromised start to this lap. Dalton goes for it on the exit of the final corner. That may well pay dividends. He's already extending his lead to over 9/10, and as he crosses the line, that should be about a second, and out of the slipstream. No, Jaled is just about tucking in. He's now hit that 1 second boundary. Jaled no longer has the slipstream. He could then fall prey to Big Crazy Bertie with a late lunge on the inside. Bertie's not going to go for it. But if you ride on board with Nick John Baker, someone's on his outside, is it? Or on his inside? No, I've just skipped something crazy instead. So Nick John Baker in 3rd. In 4th, sorry. Jonathan in 5th. Chris R390 in 6th. With Matthew Francis keeping in close company in 7th place. He's got Tiddywink right behind in P8. Look ahead. Matthew Francis not going for that move. So he stays P7. Tiddywink in 8th. ART Mike in 9th. Urban 5 10th. Dever at the back of the pack. So no fighting for the time being, it seems. I'm going to run the border with J-Leg, because as much as he try and catch Dalton, he has got Bertie right behind him. A fantastic run by Bertie up the hill. He's going to cut early to the inside or try and get the outside for the next corner. He's going to run for the outside. Try to take the inside at the hairpin. They are side by side down the hill. J-Leg is later on the brakes, but Bertie's already there. Just by the skin of his teeth takes that line. And I don't think J-Leg's going to get that inside line back with the fork, with the front wheel drive traction. That's not going to help. You have to settle for P3 for the time being. Maybe pounce on a mistake at the chicane of death. How are they going to handle it? Nick John Baker clipping the wall on the outside. Very aggressive there. All three sending it through the chicane there. As does Jonathan behind in P5. A great get back from him so far. Chris in 6th. Matthew Francis in 7th. And he's got Tiddywink and Mike for company. The run ball with Mike. Lining up Mr. Tiddywink into the hairpin. There's the move. Late move there as Matthew Francis is just about keeping the apex there. Chris R390 couldn't quite get that move done ahead of him, so he's in P6. A compromised exit there could give this trio a chance to take P6 from him. We're looking at this little mirror down our right. Tiddywink is trying to find that move on ART Mike. Mike's going to have to go past Matthew Francis. Someone's going to have to give it at this point. Mike lifts instead. Tiddywink's got nowhere to go. Matthew Francis is braking early. Ooh, that's going to be very close there. Chris R390 is around J-Lad there. J-Lad had a bit of an off from P3. I think that was down to P5. Or P6, I should say. Chris is now in P5. So now to make sure these drivers can once again try and recover and find their rhythm. Matthew Francis again defending very early there, compromising his line through that hairpin. Definitely best to stay wide and follow the regular racing line before committing to the corner, because there's no way Mike would dive him from 2 or 3 tenths back. That would be incredible, it would be ridiculous. If we jump forward though, Chris R390 is trying to find a way past Jonathan. Have to lift a little bit there, heading up at the final corner, but Jonathan's not had the best run out of there either. It's 2.5 tenths, 2 tenths to the head into the braking zone. A late move? No, but he's trying to scare Jonathan off the racing line. He has scared Jonathan off the racing line, and Chris is going to try and sneak up the inside into the chicane complex. He does get the inside and will take P4. They leave each other space. Jonathan has to tuck back in behind the blue and black Genesis. Jonathan taking the chicane of death like a pro. Meanwhile, not taking it like a pro, someone's fallen to the side there. That is Mr. Tiddywink, front and rear damage, and Dever just about avoids him. Looks like maybe coming together. I don't know if that was side contact from another car, or perhaps he's tipped the inside wall on the exit there. But Tiddywink being spun like a top there, and that's not going to help his race 2 after an incredible race 1. He's got some real time to make up now. Dever will once again let Mr. Tiddywink pass, so he can continue on his own development. That's fair enough. Urban Fire hunting down ART Mike, 7 tenths or so in it as he looks for an inside way around Matthew Francis. Maybe the outside instead, heading up the hairpin. No, not today. Mike will remain in P8. Matthew Francis in P7. We can see J-Lad though at the inside of Jonathan. Jonathan's going to have to go wide there onto the grass. He's got the traction on the brakes. No, Jonathan returns to the track. Just about gets it stopped. Keeps it on the tarmac, but doesn't keep P6. J-Lad, does keep P5, I say. J-Lad up into P5. And now Jonathan with dirty tyres has got to worry about Matthew Francis having a look. Jonathan, you see rushing a little bit wide there. J-Lad loses it completely and he's off into the gravel there. Just out of shot, I believe. Unfortunately for J-Lad, he just made a great move there on Jonathan, and Jonathan will take it back, as will a couple of other drivers. So Matthew Francis there was trying to defend from Jonathan. It's now got to defend from Mike. Mike looking up the inside, not going for the move. Matthew Francis running a little wide on the exit there. Mike's going to try and cut back, but Matthew Francis has that one covered. We've now got about 4 drivers here within the space of around a second heading through the chicane of death. Let's see how they handle it. You know, Jonathan's normally fantastic through here, remains fantastic. Matthew Francis, good, but not as good as ART Mike. They're going to be side by side through the tunnel. Mike just trying to pull over Matthew Francis. Matthew Francis just nudging him over towards the inside. Mike will have to take the inside line, not going for it. Matthew shuts the door on him very firmly. Good defending there from Matthew Francis. Good considerate driving there from ART Mike. Not losing too much time either to Urban Fire, who is trying to join the fight, but he's just falling off the slipstream there. He knows there's a P7 or 6, maybe even a P5, if he plays his cards right and lets the guys in front of him fumble the bag. Teaming past J-Lad, who we saw had that incident on the hill earlier, so he's already gained 2 places since his crash at the chicane. We are almost halfway through this race, and you can see Dalton still in the lead, 2.3 seconds away from Big Crazy Bertie, who's found his way up into P2. He's had to fend off Nick John Baker though, who's had a fantastic race 2, much better than race 1, and we're going to ride on board then with Nick John Baker, 3/10 up on the current best lap set by OM Dalton as he heads into this uphill S sector. As we see, compromising the first part of the hill to make a great run up the second and third. He's gaining very fractionally there on Bertie, but now the power of that Sylvia will come into its own and start eking away from the Toyota once again. Toyota will be very late on the brakes though. It's down to third gear, second for the rotation, flat to the floor, traction control giving just a little bit of help there, but a good run out of that corner. He's lost a little bit of time compared to Dalton, but he's still on the run to set a purple time. How's he handled the chicane of death? Will ride on board there, not quite using all the width on the entry, keeping it very stable through the middle. And now he's taken about a 1/10.5 out of Big Crazy Bertie since that first sector alone. Is there anything to take in this final corner? Not quite, braking fairly early. Got a nice tight apex compared to Bertie. Early on the power as well. And he may well have a chance at the hairpin, but I think Bertie, just with that a bit more power in the Sylvia, is going to fight that one another day. Chris Arthur United down in P4. 1.8 seconds off that battling pair, 2.6 off with Jonathan, who is in P5. Side by side though are Matthew Francis and Mike just behind him again. We're going to ride on board with Jonathan, see what happens to these two heading into turn 2. They're both very late on the brakes. Matthew Francis is left hung out to dry by ART Mike, and he takes P6. Francis down to P7. Urban Fire is still just trying to catch up the back of these two in P8, but just lacking the power he needs to get involved in this fight. Mr. Tidwick heading into the first hairpin there in P9, J-Lad in P10 after his other off, Deva in P11. So not too much fighting going on for the time being. We can see Nick John Baker is still trying to catch up on the back of Crazy Bertie. He's doing really well, that Toyota, it must be said. It's just letting him down on the power front. Chris Arthur United trying to chase him down in P4. He's got a 3-second gap there to Jonathan just behind in P5. And you can see this is the quartet we've been following for most of the race. Jonathan, Mike, Matthew Francis, and now Urban Fire is definitely with a chance of snagging some places here. Let's ride back and forth with Jonathan looking back through chicane of death. Let's see if anyone who's going to be the first one to bite the dust. Jonathan running very close to that wall, but doing very well. Mike a little bit more conservative. Matthew Francis, I think, is the one to clip the wall, but not severe enough to give Urban Fire anything to get his hopes up for. So about to head around to start lap 7 here. Not many changes happening around so far in lap 6. But as we know, it's a real trap here at Lagomaduro, at Dragon Trail Seaside, so gravel traps, the chicane of death, many opportunities to get caught up in the dirty air and run wide. We've seen some of those already in round 1. We saw it as well in race 2. We might see Mike up the inside of Jonathan, knows to break early and duck out of that one. Perhaps he scared Jonathan a little bit wide there in the first corner. He has. Jonathan's gone very wide, almost into the gravel. Mike with the overspeed, can he make this lunge up into the first hairpin? He's on the inside. John will have to leave the space on the inside, might leave space on the outside, but Jonathan very bravely keeps it pinned through that corner and retains P5. Really, really strong driving there from the Mauritian. So he keeps Mike down in P6. Matthew Francis is still trying to catch back up to that pair in P7. Urban Fire, to his credit, is still clinging on in P8 in the little Mosquito, the Toyota there. Mike looks like to have another run on Jonathan with a great uphill complex. Now it's got to be a move to be made here. We're going to ride on board there with Mike. Considering changing to see his gear, but no, they go down 4th and 3rd. Late on the brakes, doesn't make the apex, heads off the track. Puts Jonathan in the wall. Mike, I think, is just about lifting off there. Yes, he is. Make sure Jonathan keeps P5 in very considerate driving there. Matthew Francis, though, is still trying to steal the place. He's caught up quite a bit thanks to that little scuffle there. All of them make it through chicane very well. Urban Fire just a little bit more conservative. That's going to cost him on the exit. Mike also, as always, a little bit sideways through there. A little bit of flair. Not the fastest way, but definitely the most stylish. Matthew Francis going for the move on Mike. He's left the door wide open. A slight bit of contact, I think, maybe some lag or some net code. Mike keeps P6 for the time being, but it will be a drag race down to the hairpin at the start of lap 8. It looks like Mike is just inching away there if you look at the delta on your left. But Matthew Francis is going to jump into the slipstream, try and steal a couple hundredths or so. Then look move on the inside. It's a very late move, a little bit more door banging. Where's ART Mike? He's in the grass. Matthew lets that one go, but he lets Urban Fire go as well. And Urban might make a move on the inside of ART Mike. They are side by side, heading into the right hand kick. Urban Fire is definitely ahead at this point. Takes it nicely, and Mike is on the grass. He's gone very late into that corner, and I think that is goodbye Mike. That's 2 places gone there. Trying to fight the one a bit too hard against Urban Fire. That was Tiddlywink, who's been nowhere for most of this race. Up into P7, Matthew Francis into 8, ART Mike down into 9. So a lot of time lost there, all for Tiddlywink game. J-Lad down in P7, 7 seconds, was 8 seconds off of that little scuffle there. Really been a big fight in midfield tonight. And Dever in P11. Dalton still quite a comfortable race by himself. He almost a Sunday drive, it seems. 2 seconds up on Big Crazy Bertie, but we know any mistake is easily worth 2 seconds, if not more, here at Dragon Trail. Bertie is in P2, 1.4 seconds away from Nick John Baker again, having a fantastic race so far in the Toyota 86. Christopher 90 is in P4, dropping just a little bit of time there to Jonathan in P5. Seems that our front five has stabilised somewhat as they've found their pace and found their rhythm. Not many gains or losses up in that section of the grid. It's mainly the guys back here. Matthew Francis has now somehow eked out an 8-second gap over J-Lad, who was at the back only moments ago. Is now up in P7. Need to miss all the action as soon as I tune into the leaders. Urban Fire is now in a drag race with Mike down the back, down the home straight. We know the Silvia's going to win that one. As the Urban Fire keeps it planted. There's maybe a slight lift there for Urban Fire. In fact, no, Mike's let go back past. So maybe a coming together being resolved on the little straightaway there. So Mike down to P9, Tiddlywink back down to P10. So it must have been a big bust up at the chicane. That's allowed J-Lad to take, looks like about 4 places. Let's see if we can find some battling though before we wrap up this race. We've got another 2.5 laps or so left. Well, a lap and a half I should say, I think. Nothing happening in our top 5 it seems. And in fact our nearest battle is probably this one here with Urban Fire and ART Mike. And actually I think we'll jump on board with Mr. Tiddlywink because he's got the front row seats. Mike not having the best run there up the hill. Tiddlywink going full send through both of those corners, running very wide. He's had to lift off there to avoid the gravel. just about keeps it in a straight line. So we jump towards a Mike there. He's the next one up in the fight. Is he going to take the fight to Urban Fire in this corner? No, maybe not, but very, very late on the brakes. And back right underneath the rear wing of the Toyota and looking for slipstream heading into the chicane of death. Urban Fire taking it very gingerly through there. Mike with a little bit more confidence, but a misshift there on the exits will cost him the time that he's gained. Very unfortunate there. Tiniwick is now then back on the heels of ART Mike. Tiniwick making the best apex out of those three, nice and wide, just about keeping it out of the grass. You might have seen the faintest of lifts to keep him on the tarmac. Heading through for lap 10 now. Don't think there's going to be any moves made into the first corner, or the second corner I should say, at this rate. And no, nothing going there, so it seems that we're going to be a little bit static for the time being, unless of course Mike has an absolute disaster run out of the chicane. I thought it looked quite, well, it looked worse on the camera. I think it's actually been alright there. But still, these three drivers clearly within a second or so of each other. There could still be room for change, as I think J-Lo up ahead isn't quite as far away as they might think, as long as he's on the horizon. They're dangling the meat in front of the dog, or dangling the carrot in front of the mouse. I can't remember the phrase, but you know what I'm trying to say. The bait is there. I suppose, you know, the orange rear of that Scirocco pretty much would be a carrot to Urban Fire there back in P8. We skim forward just a little way. Matthew Francis is kind of on his own here, 7 seconds either side of him to the nearest driver. Jonathan's got under 2 seconds up the road to Chris, 2 and a bit seconds up the road to Nick. Nick, though, is just about in sight of the leading pair. With Big Crazy Bertie now only a second away from Dalton. We could well see something exciting at the end of this race, as I see a big cloud of drivers heading through this death chicane. There's a move to be made here. Looks like Mike had a really good run there on Urban Fire. Tiniwick's had a really good run on the pair of them. They are 3 wide heading into the last corner. Urban Fire around the outside of Mike, very bold. Love to see that. Mike is going to try and cut back underneath him, but there is nothing happening there. We're going to have to watch them head onto the straight for the final lap, because it's a drag race here. Urban Fire in the slipstream of Mr. Tiniwick, but still the Silvia is pulling away. And Urban Fire's going to be very late in the brakes here, which he is. Gets it stopped right in front of ART Mike. Urban Fire keeps P9. Mike's going to try and roar past him up the hill. He's had a fantastic exit there out the chicane, but I think Urban Fire's going to be able to hold this one off at least into the hairpin. Mr. Tiniwick there on J-Lad. J-Lad's had to go a little bit wider the apex. That front wheel drive possibly understeering on the brakes. Tiniwick now needs to make a really bold move, I think, either through this S-bend or in the second hairpin. Let's see how he takes the S's. Good run there, compromising the first left, keeping it tight. J-Lad though parks it right on the apex there on the right-hander. So Tiniwick has to settle here for P8, but he's got a good run down the hill. Let's see what's going to be made of it. J-Lad defends to the inside. Tiniwick moves to the outside. Tiniwick a little bit earlier on the brakes. J-Lad runs wide. Is there an up and under for Tiniwick? There is indeed. He's going to hug that inside barrier like his favourite grandma. But J-Lad still has the run. So now it's the death chicane. This is where it could be a make or break moment. J-Lad's very conservative. Tiniwick's very, very aggressive. He's right up underneath here. I'm going to jump to the front quickly as we see Dalton and Bertie only a 1/10 and a half apart on the line. Very close. Nick John Baker takes 3rd. Chris in 4th. Jonathan 5th. Matthew Francis takes 6th. J-Lad still fending off Tiniwick, but it could be a drag to the line. It will be a drag. In fact, it won't be a drag as Tiniwick takes him with distance to spare. Tiniwick over J-Lad for 7th and 8th. Urban Fire is just going to fend off Mike for 9 and 10. What a fantastic finish. And Dever coming through the tunnel at the end of the lap will shortly be home in P11. What a great race here for race 2 or 3 at Dragon Trail Seaside. Very excited to see what the final round will bring tonight. And of course a big congratulations to race winner for number 2, O.M. Dalton. Glad to see him up on the podium and on the top step for once. fantastic effort from him. Perhaps not quite as easy as Mr. Tiddlywink, especially with Big Crazy Bertie bearing down on him. Try to say that 3 times fast. Big Crazy Bertie bearing down. And only a 1/10.5 in it as they cross the line. So this could be a very exciting final stint, and I'm really looking forward to it. I hope you are too at home. We'll be right back with race 3 of 3. So if you are just joining us on YouTube, once again, it's myself, SuperSquid, with the Amigos Racing Team Touring Car Championship Series 2. It's round 6 at Dragon Trail Seaside, and you're just in time for the final race of tonight's proceedings. We saw Mr. Tiddlywink take a resounding win in the first round. O.M. Dalton from the back of the field, I believe, as well, with a very, very close race 2 being pushed right to the end by Big Crazy Bertie, and Nick John Baker taking the final podium place. Battling up and down the grid, something we love to see here at Amigos Racing Team. And if you want to get involved, join one of our many leagues going on, please hit the link in our description of this video for our Discord. We've got a new Saturday Endurance League starting up soon, Tuesday sprints in the Nissan GTR Group 3, and our Super Sunday Endurance, where drivers will be paired in a multi-class series of events for Group 1 and Group 3 cars. At least that's where the voting is going, I think. So if you want to get involved, hit the link in the description, join the Discord. We're over 600 strong. Let's see if we can get to maybe 750 by the end of 2023. Would be a fantastic goal for us as a community. We've got a website as well, amigosracingteam.co.uk, and you can find us on Facebook as well. And Instagram. Always forget about our Instagram. So if you're still tuned in, drop a comment. Who do you think is going to take race 3? It could be anyone's guess we've seen so far. We've seen winners from the front, winners from the back. I'd still like to see Jonathan on the podium. I think maybe we can focus on his consistency. We'll see a much better result for him for the final one tonight. I think, I'll be honest, I underestimated Nick John Baker a little bit tonight, but seeing him on the podium for the second race makes me think he may well have a win in him. And a Big Crazy Bertie, of course, returning from a win last week in Tier 2 at Lago Maggiore, means he might well be in for a chance. He's raced very hard so far tonight, so it could go down to the wire. So we've got 11 more laps before we pack in for tonight. So I hope you're ready for one more exciting race. I definitely am. Oops, that's my video being played too loud again. So we should be starting in just a moment. So it says you may have just a couple of small issues with the lobby. And of course, you know, just being Gran Turismo, Glyphony, on the rare chance you're watching, please sort these things out. But we should be up and running shortly, so please do bear with. Alright, so it looks like we are underway. And it looks like a race under the lights, it seems, for our final one here at Dragon Trail Seaside. We didn't see any rain, which is always good. But let's see if the dark affects the drivers in any way. We've got our 5 red lights. Let's jump back out, jump back in when the race starts. They should be underway now. Good. So, see Devon leaving a bit of space there. ART Mike is our pole sitter for the moment. Let's run on board with him, looking back and see how turn 1 pans out. He was in the gravel at the start this time, about 20 minutes ago. Hopefully not this time. A bit of constant there from Chris Matthew Francis. Matthew Francis been pushed wide, but keeps it on the track into P2. We're about 3 wide on the exit there, but keeping it all on the black stuff. Fantastic. We like to see Tiddlywink and Nick John Baker side by side. Tiddlywink does have the right of racing way, or the racing right of way, but Nick John Baker will go straight around him anyway. Very bold move there from the Dutchman. Tiddlywink is now to fend off Dalton there, down in P7. Dalton with the bright yellow lights, of course, with a slight difference from the rest of our pack, it seems, to match the colour scheme of the car. I've missed a fight there. That is Matthew Francis. He's been chased there by Chris Arthur90 in the Korean sister car there. It's the Hyundai Genesis and the Genesis G70. Maybe a little flash of the lights there from Chris, just to try and maybe get his head a little bit, as Mike, I think, ran a little bit wide there. Lost some time on the entry or mid corner there. So Chris in 3rd. We've got Urbanfire in P4. Tiddlywink 5th. Dalton is in 6th, trying to catch back up to Mr. Tiddlywink. We've got a lot of cars going for chicane of death here. This could go very, very wrong. And I don't think it has. Credit to those guys then. All through in one piece. Jonathan, though, slightly better than the others. And in fact, there's been a huge spin there. And Dalton once again finds himself off the track. Damage throughout there. The car, most unfortunate. So Nick John Baker may have been involved as well. Dalton, I'm sure, will be so annoyed. 2 of his 3 races tonight affected by collisions. He's at least got 1 win under his belt, but this next one's going to be a lot harder than he would like. Let's see if he can make some progress back up the pack. Because that damage will disappear in about 15 seconds or so, and it won't be fun while he's got it. In fact, I think it's probably just about disappeared now. There we go. So Dalton there will have to recover from P9 if he wants to make something of this race. Jonathan down in P8. Again, I want to see him on the podium one more time, maybe even the top step, but he's got a long way to go. Another 7 drivers in his way. One of them being here, JLab 1970, in our only front-wheel drive car of the lineup tonight. Sat up right behind Big Crazy Dirty, who's also watching Tiddlywink, and that is Urbanfire getting into it as they head up the hill. Let's stay on board with JLab. He sees this trio weave their way up the Croatian hillside. I believe it's Croatia. Tell me if I'm wrong. As Urbanfire makes his way up the hillside into the gravel. Unfortunately for him, that will set him back a couple of seconds. I think he maybe even had a spin trying to get it fixed. I think he has. That's not the way he wants to do it. So that gives all these drivers an extra boost up the standings. That puts Jade into P6, Bertie into P5, Tiddlywink into P4. Tiddlywink a little bit wide there, not using all the curb on the inside of the chicane. And he snaps all on the outside for good measure. Bertie's around the outside, Jane's around the outside. Tiddlywink not having a good time of it, maybe an incident in the hairpin, causing some damage and affecting his chicanes there. Jonathan in P7 indicating right. Not too sure why. He's planned an unnecessary pit stop. As it seems Mr. Tiddlywink with Bertie's gone wide there, giving some space. I think that is Big Crazy Bertie. Gone quite far up that corner, maybe trying to let J-Lad go past. That's going to allow Tinerick to have a catch up on the back of him. And Jonathan seems to be reeling all of them in. So important for him to have make some gains on these drivers. At the front of the pack though, ART Mike still in the lead, a second and a half away. Matthew Francis in P2. He's still got Chris R390 for company. This front trio about 6 seconds off the rest of the pack. All quite tightly bunched together. Let's see how they manage their way, winding themselves up the hill here. Of course, Chris R390 still wearing his Ken Block tribute livery. It's fantastic on that car, I must say. And he's right up on the back of Matthew Francis there, flashing the lights, trying to get in his mirrors, get in his head. Matthew Francis defending midway on the track. Chris looking for a late move on the brakes there. Just about avoids contact there, but Matthew Francis has been scared wide. Chris is up the inside, and that is P2. Clever racing there from Chris R390. Matthew Francis just needs to make sure there the red mist doesn't get him, because he's still on for a podium. Some crucial points if he keeps it in one piece. Keeps it out the wall there, very important there. So Matthew Francis got to get his head down, keep that podium spot. J-Lad all kinds of sideways. Tiddywink all kinds of sideways and backways and frontways and diagonal ways. Off the chicane wall there and down to P9 from what I believe might well have been somewhere up to P5. Dalton though is making an aggressive comeback from his off at the start of the race, already back up into P7. I think he's just about in the slipstream of Jonathan as well. We see there Dalton previously, I believe, did have the purple fastest lap. Mike's got a 1:47.1, so he really has started to put his foot down, and that's one of the faster times we've seen this evening. So if I flick through the pack and see where the battles are going on, J-Lad has got Big Crazy Bertie about half a second behind him. Bit more breathing space there with a great exit out of the chicane, it must be said. Really hooked up well, that front wheel drive Scirocco. I think as well we can see from the body roll of that VW, he's been a lot more aggressive now into that right hand kick before the hairpin. So now these drivers, I think, are finally getting comfortable with the circuit, knowing the limits of grip and knowing just how far they can push these machines. They have to push them for another 6.5 laps though, so they've got a long night ahead of them, it seems. Mike still in the lead there, Chris in second, Matthew in third, J-Lad fourth, Bertie following him in fifth, Dalton come up the hill now in sixth, so he really is starting to put the hammer down. Jonathan in P7 seems it's going a little bit too far backwards rather than forwards. Speaking of backwards, Nick John Baker, oh, that's my phone, it's going backwards on the floor. Nick John Baker fresh off of P3 in the second race, down in P8, not where he wants to be. He needs to get his foot down as well. Urban Fire in P9, goes on his own little island at the moment. Dever in P10, he's ahead of Mr. Tiddywink, he's not slowing down, we love to see it. I'm only concerned that Dever's going to let him go. Don't let him go. Don't let him go. Let's run the ball with Tiddywink. There's no following through the chicane. He's been a little bit conservative through the chicane of death. I don't think Dever's ever missed it. Tiddywink so aggressive through the chicane there. No room for error. He's a man on a mission. So very aggressive there driving from Mr. Tiddywink. Let's see if he can make some inroads on the leading drivers. Mike's extending his gap. In fact, he's doubled his gap from 1.5 seconds to 3 over Chris R390. He's in second place. He's got Matthew Francis 1.5 seconds. So Chris not having the best few sets of laps there. He's allowing some time to slip in front and behind. Matthew Francis though, crucially again, keeping the consistency, keeping that P3 for himself, keeping the rest of the pack away. Big Crazy Bertie is 6.5 seconds down there in P4. He's got a 2-second cushion to J-Lad. He's got Dalton right behind him in P6. So we're going to jump on board then with Dalton as they head up the hill. A good run right-handed there from Dalton. My apologies. And a nice left-hander there as well. Deep in the slipstream there of J-Lad. J-Lad's going to defend to the middle of the circuit. Dalton's going to try and break late as he can. No move there. J-Lad covers that one off as well. So he may well have to hope for a mistake into the trickiest part of the lap. Let's see how they handle the chicane of death. Dalton definitely much more aggressive than J-Lad through there. Jonathan and Nick John Baker also making it in one piece. Though it must be said, Dalton perhaps maybe more aggressive on the entry, but not quite as calm and controlled on the exit. That's where J-Lad seems to be making his gains. He's taking about 4/10 out of him just on the exit of the chicane. Dalton needs to make sure he doesn't lose too much more time, or he will drop the slipstream. He's on that 9/10 boundary. I think he's just about starting to reel him back in now, which is crucial for us to keep some distance away from Jonathan, who's 1.5 seconds back there in the Lexus RCF. Urban Fire direct across the line there in P8. Nick John Baker in P9, and now we've got a battle of the Toyotas heading down the right-hand kink of turn 1 towards the chicane of turn 2 and 3. Is there a late lunge to make here? No, Nick is going to brake early instead, see if he can surprise Urban into a mistake. He has surprised him with that contact though on the rear of Urban's car. That spun him off into the gravel trap. Nick though very courteously waiting for Urban Fire to pass before resuming the race, but not before Mr. Tiddywig and perhaps even Dever have a chance to jump on that bandwagon. So Nick there down to the back of the pack, unfortunately. Mike's taking another second away there from Chris, about another 1.5 seconds, I believe, more or less, up into his lead. First place, 4.4 seconds. Chris RP90 is in P2. Matthew Francis is still chasing him down. Still, what's the rest of the threat is peripheral vision. A perpetual threat is what I'm thinking of there in at P3. Maybe not so much now as he's dropping back out the chicane of death and may well lose the slipstream should he not nail the final corner. Again, he's turning in very early, not giving the best run out of the final turn, and that I think is just about going to cost him the slipstream. Yes, it is. I'll have a word with Matthew at the end, see if we can sort out some of one of his lines before we head off for the evening. Big Crazy Bertie in P4 cresting the hill over the finish line. ART Dalton there in P5, but he's going to let J-Lab go. It seems maybe an incident there being resolved as they head over the line. Jonathan though is now going to be involved in a three-way fight here for P5 as we emerge on lap 7. Dalton then not quite tight to the apex there. Jonathan swinging that Lexus through both of those corners, running very wide on each. That's cost him just a little bit on the exit there, I think. As we see Jonathan make sure he keeps it on the racetrack this time rather than running wide onto the gravel at the exit. It's very easy on that hairpin if you clip the inside curve, sends your car flying, and of course you can't turn while you're in the air, and then that ruins your race. Tiddywig though I'm sure is going to make a great result of this one. Clipping just after the flat curve, running very wide. He's really pushing that Sylvia hard tonight. Of course he's got to make some inroads on this battling pack up ahead if he wants a chance of retaining some points. Wow, I'm being 3/10 up there on the purple up. We might well see, I think, if not the first, then one of the first 146 laps tonight, which would be a heck of a time. We're going to jump on board there with Jonathan in the Lexus as we watch J-Lad and Dalton take the chicane of death. Again, looking a little bit gingerly through there, not being as aggressive. But J-Lad seems to have made a mistake. Dalton is having a look around the outside. J-Lad's going to try and force him inside. He's got about level with the rear bumper. He's going to be late on the brakes. J-Lad leaves the space on the inside. Dalton says thank you very much. Leaves him out, hung up to dry on the grass though. That's a little bit too far. John was going to make a break on these two. Dalton though very kindly giving J-Lad back that place. Demoted down to P7. J-Lad to 6th. Jonathan up to 5th. Big Crazy Bertie on his own here in P4. Matthew Francis seems to have made an error in that last lap and has now lost about 3 seconds to Chris R390, who's still quite a way adrift of ART Mike, off in the sunset on his own with a 5-second gap to boot. Continuing crossing the line, 147.192, so lost a little bit of time there in the final sector, but we know he's got a 146 in it. We'll have to see if it does appear by the end of the race. Doesn't seem like we've got too much fighting going on here as Devo crossing the line to start his 8th lap. 204.3, so maybe letting somebody go, or a little bit of an error towards the end of his lap potentially. not too much fighting going on through the pack, but we have got J-Lad going once again with Owen Dalton. Dalton must have passed him in the first sector after returning the place to him over the start-finish line. Let's see how they handle this hairpin. Dalton not quite clicking, not quite hitting or kissing the apex there. J-Lad with good acceleration out of the corner, but not quite using all the width of the track, making sure again these Group 4 cars so reliant on momentum, preserving the speed that they have. Very important, especially in a car like the Scirocco, that you just throw it into the corners, hope it sticks, and plant your foot on the way out. Dalton though with forward drive, obviously find that a little bit easier. They start to pull away from J-Lad just a touch. You can see J-Lad's tyres there. You can see her probably about a third worn there, of course the front's exclusively being the front wheel drive car. It seems he's just about lost out on the slipstream as well to Dalton, so that's not going to go particularly well for him. No hassle in the chat there, cheering on Daddy Mike. Mike's doing very well. He has lost about 2 seconds by last lap. You can see from 47.46 to 1 minute 50. So perhaps a little excursion off the track that we didn't quite see on camera. He's going to try and make amends for that now. We've just seen Tilly Winky in there, a 146.8. I think Mike must have seen that and decided he's going to maybe turn the traction control down a bit or turn the fuel up a little bit. See if he can take anything faster than 146.8. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a 146.5. Our drivers really go for it tonight. Chris though is still in at P2, kind of on his own, 3 seconds to the lead, almost 5 seconds down to P3. Matthew Francis though is running a consistent race, which is always good to see. He's starting to maybe get that car under control and making sure that he can secure a podium spot. I think Hassel sent a message in here as well saying that Lanks beat us all in T1. And it is nice to see someone else on the top step of the podium from the usual northwestern Europeans with the flag similar to France. I shan't specify whom. To those of you who are watching, or the 80 watching, great for joining. Thank you much for spectating tonight. The end of our race. We've got 2 laps left to go. ART Mike is having a fairly dominant race. Another 150, still not particularly fast for his standards, but maybe he's just trying to cruise it home and keep a win on his debut. Lay saying, I assume Dutchy wasn't there. I wasn't there. I've been doing this all evening, so you have to tell me. Maybe No Hassle can clarify in the comments for you. Chris R390, the host, is in P2. Matthew Francis is in P3. Big Crazy Bertie in P4. He's got 5.5 seconds over Jonathan in P5. ART Dalton there in P6. He's managed to extend his lead to J-Lad by over a second there. He's now in P7. T-Wig is in 8th. No blistering lap from him on that last one. That was a 47.3, so he's still got some left in the tank, I'm sure. Urban Fire in P9. And Nick John Baker had a great start to this race, but now finds himself a little bit further back down the pack in P10. JRM in the chat saying Mike's got this. Well, we have seen Mike do stranger things in the past, but as long as he keeps it consistent, I'm sure he'll see a win. I believe JRM, this is his first time in TCR2, so it'd be nice to see it rounded off with a win for Daddy Mike. Something for Finn to be proud of in the chat, I'm sure. He's sending it through the wall there. Hassel says, I only hit a wall once. Dutchy wasn't racing. I think he must have had a date at the Stamp Museum. That sounds incredibly exciting. Yes, I do mean the JRM things. I don't want to say the cursed phrase. It's like you don't refer to the Scottish play if you're a thespian. I daren't refer to certain things when he's on the final lap of what's been a very convincing race, this final one. It seems to have been that whoever starts on pole just gets to disappear. But Chris, though, as we said, he's got the carrot dangled in front of his nose. He knows any mistake from Mike is going to almost guarantee him a win. He'll be hoping and praying, but 3 and a bit seconds back, he's going to need a miracle. Matthew Francis 7 seconds down the road. This should be a quite comfortable P3 for him as well. Lays was saying, I think it was congratulations or good luck to Matthew. Podium Matthew, go on, is what he said. He's got Bertie gaining on him behind though, 2.5 seconds, as there's a change there, I think, between Dalton and J-Lad. They're side by side, in fact, heading into the first chicane. Dalton cuts underneath. Goodness me. Take my breath away. Dalton in P5 cuts underneath J-Lad, puts him down into P6. and Jonathan is still lurking. We could have a three-way fight for P5. We love these three-way fights in Tier 2. They get so easy. Jonathan, just keeps it off the grass there in a straight line. Let's ride on board then from behind Dalton. Let's see how close Jonah can get in this uphill section. Not quite hitting that first apex there in the Scirocco. A much better bit in the second one. Dalton, I think, is still just inching away, it seems there. He will indeed. Looks though, looks though Chris moved up past Matthew, but he's been there all race. A bit distracted. So it's like there's nothing to be gained here. They're just about separating from each other. So I think this is going to be a fairly relaxed end to our race. We will stay tuned through the death chicane just in case there's the miracle that Bertie was looking for, or the miracle that Chris was looking for, but it hasn't happened. What about Dalton? He's very close there to both of us, but he keeps it in one piece. J-Lad just about the same, and Jonathan, I think he may have just hit the wall, so nothing there, but ART might cross the line to take the win. Chris R390 in second, and Matthew Francis does keep that podium for P3. Big Crazy Bertie in fourth. Dalton's about to cross the line for P5, and they're still almost nose to tail, heading over the finish. Dalton fifth, J-Lad sixth, Jonathan in P7. Then in a different postcode entirely, it seems we've got Urban Fire. Hope you won't mind me saying that. He's around in the final corner there in P8. He's 6 seconds away from Nick John Baker in P9. Mr. Tiddlywick, who started with an explosive win, a dominant win. I think it's a 15-second win in the first round, just hasn't made it stick for the second two. He'll be very disappointed with the most of tonight's proceedings. He's coming home in P10. And last, but by no means least, let's get some support in the comments for Deva, who's not binned it in the final chicane, and he's going to blast through the tunnel for the final spot on the grid tonight. Let's get some cheers for Deva in the comments. I'm going to get some fireworks in there for Deva. And there he is, crossing the line for P11. Oh, maybe not. No, he's not finished. Dreadful. The latest cheers for Deva, that's what counts. So, once again, we come to the end of a frantic and incredible trio of races here. A triptych, I believe they should call it. At, I was going to say Lago Maggiore, but that was last week, at Dragon Trail Seaside. Next week, you will find us in the Belgium Formula 1 circuit we know as Spa-Francorchamps for another 3-race series. And I might suggest that you bring your umbrella, because it could get wet. I've been SuperSquid, you've been fantastic, these drives have been amazing, and I hope to see you next Wednesday for another exciting series of Amigos Touring Car Championship. Hit the Discord link in the description below to get involved. I'd love to see some more of you in Tier 1 next Wednesday. Have a lovely evening, and I'll catch you all soon. Night night.